The night was quiet, yet Yusuf's mind was restless. He scrolled through his phone, his eyes lingering on a message from his close friend, Bilal. "Bro, it's nothing serious. She's just a friend," Bilal had written, defending his growing bond with a girl from his class. Yusuf sighed, feeling a strange unease settle in his chest. He had seen this before, the slow, almost unnoticeable descent of a good-hearted person into something they never thought possible. At first, it always seemed innocent. A simple conversation, a shared laugh, a project worked on together. Nothing sinful, nothing wrong. But deep inside, Yusuf knew that small things could snowball into something far more dangerous. And he feared that Bilal was stepping onto a path that many had walked before, only to regret it later. The next day at the university, Yusuf watched as Bilal and the girl spoke. The casual ease between them was apparent, but Yusuf couldn't ignore the signs. The extra second of eye contact, the slight nervous smile, the way their conversations grew longer and more personal. No one thinks they will fall into something forbidden, but temptation never announces itself. It whispers, gently pulling people deeper until they realize they are drowning. Bilal was a good guy. He prayed, he fasted, he was mindful of his faith. But that was the danger. Shaitan does not go after those already lost. He waits for the righteous and plants subtle seeds of deception. Yusuf wanted to say something, but how? What if Bilal thought he was being extreme? What if he brushed it off as overthinking? Days passed and the friendship grew. Yusuf noticed how Bilal's priorities were shifting. His phone buzzed more often. He laughed at jokes that once made him uncomfortable. He justified texting late at night. "We're just talking about studies," he said. But was that really all it was? One evening, Yusuf sat with Bilal at a cafe. He decided it was time to speak. "Bilal, I need to talk to you." His voice was steady, but there was urgency in his tone. Bilal raised an eyebrow. "What's up?" Yusuf leaned forward. "You trust me, right?" "Of course, bro." "Then tell me honestly, do you think this friendship is completely pure? No emotions involved at all?" Bilal hesitated, caught off guard. "It's not like that," he defended. "She's a nice person and we get along. That's it." Yusuf sighed. "That's how it starts. No one thinks they'll cross a line. But tell me, if she were to suddenly stop talking to you today, would you feel nothing?" Bilal opened his mouth to reply, but the words didn't come. Something flickered in his eyes. Realization, perhaps. Yusuf continued, his voice softer now. "Allah, in his infinite wisdom, warns us against situations that could lead us astray. He knows us better than we know ourselves. He commands us to lower our gaze, to guard our interactions, because even the purest of intentions can be tested." Bilal looked away, his jaw tightening. "So what are you saying? Should I just cut her off?" Yusuf shook his head. "I'm saying you need to be honest with yourself. Ask yourself why you're continuing this. Is it really just friendship? Or is it something more?" That night, Bilal couldn't sleep. He kept replaying Yusuf's words in his head. He remembered how easy everything felt in the beginning, but now he saw things differently. The conversations that used to feel normal now felt dangerous. He thought about how often he checked his phone, hoping for a message. How his heart beat a little faster when she laughed at his jokes. Was this really harmless? The next day, as Bilal sat across from her, he noticed something. The way her eyes searched his for assurance, the way she hesitated before saying goodbye, as if waiting for him to prolong the conversation. And then, in a quiet voice, she said something that sent a shiver down his spine. "I feel like you understand me in a way no one else does." It was subtle, innocent even. But in that moment, Bilal saw everything clearly. This was not just friendship. There was an attachment forming, something unspoken but powerful. And he realized that if he did not step back now, he might reach a point where stepping back would become impossible. The Prophet, the messenger of Allah, warned about this long ago. He said, "Whenever a man is alone with a woman, the third is Shaitan." How many had ignored this wisdom, believing themselves to be in control, only to find themselves entangled in emotions they never planned for? Bilal made his decision that day. It wasn't easy, but he knew it was necessary. He distanced himself not because he hated her, but because he feared losing something far more important, his connection with Allah. He realized that true peace does not come from following desires but from submitting to the one who created those desires in the first place. Yusuf saw the change. Bilal no longer stayed up late texting. He no longer searched for excuses to be around her. It was difficult at first. Temptation does not simply disappear overnight. But every time Bilal struggled, he reminded himself of something powerful. If you give up something for the sake of Allah, He will replace it with something better. Months later, Bilal looked back at that phase of his life and shuddered, not because he hated her, but because he realized how dangerously close he had come to something he never intended. He was grateful to Allah for opening his eyes before it was too late. So many people believe in the illusion of just friendship, but the reality is hearts are fragile, emotions are unpredictable, and when boundaries are blurred, the line between what is halal and haram begins to fade. This is why Allah, in His mercy, has given us clear guidance, not to restrict us, but to protect us from paths that lead to regret. To those watching this, reflect on your own interactions. Ask yourself, are you guarding your heart, or are you allowing subtle temptations to take root? Remember, the Messenger of Allah said that on the Day of Judgment, no one will regret leaving something for Allah's sake, but many will regret holding on to things that distance them from Him. Make the choice today. Strengthen your faith, protect your heart, and trust that whatever you sacrifice for Allah, He will replace with something far greater, far purer, and far more fulfilling.